Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Natter with Niamh. And today I have a very special guest with us. I have Michelle Beaver. Michelle is a cardiology nurse. She's been a nurse for 30 years, I think it was. And Michelle also has a very interesting hobby. She loves climbing mountains and doing push-ups at the top of those mountains, which I find absolutely fascinating. So we're going to talk about that, obviously. But first of all, I just want to ask you a little bit about how you got into nursing, Michelle.
Yeah, I got into nursing because I wanted to be a teacher, which is totally odd. And I came home from school one day and I said I found out to be a teacher, you have to go to university. And I wasn't the type of child who wanted to go to university. I was quite a home bird and I wanted to stay with my family and stuff. So I found out, I went to a careers advisor and the careers advisor said, well, you need to do a job in an office. You need to have a 9 to 5. And I think that's the start of my challenges in life. I was like, no, I'll do it my way. And I realized, right, I'm going to be a nurse because that's not 9 to 5 and that's not in an office and that's not a teacher and actually you don't have to go to university in those days. You do now.
Yes, you do
So
now. Yeah.
I came home to my parents and it must have been late at night. I don't know where I'd been or what. But mum and dad were in bed and I knocked on the door and I said, Mum, Dad, I've made a big decision. And they were like, oh dear, what? And I said, I'm going to be a nurse. So my dad burst out laughing and my mum burst out crying. And I was like, well, that wasn't the response I wanted. So my dad burst out laughing because I was the youngest of three and he thought that was hysterical that his baby would be a nurse. I was 17 when I started my nurse training, which was the youngest you could be. So I was probably about 15, 16 when I told them. And I was very little. I mean, I didn't even make 5 foot now, so I was little at
Yeah.
the time. And then my mum burst out crying because her father, who died before I was born and I was named after, he always wanted a nurse in the family and he was a volunteer for St John's Ambulance and things. So he was sort of, I think I've got a bit of him with the things I do in my life now, which is lovely
Yeah.
because I was named after him. I never met him, and that's why she
Yeah.
burst out crying because it was quite emotional for her that she didn't expect
Yeah.
me to say it. I'd never suggested such a thing in my life, and then suddenly I'd made this decision. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm
Okay.
not
Yeah.
a quitter of anything. When I make my decisions, I stick with it, and that's what I do in life, you know.
Yeah. That's marvelous. And sort of,
Yeah.
so many of us don't do that, do we? We kind of
Yeah, yeah.
we can be a bit flaky. So why cardiology that what led you down that path?
It was fluke, really. I when I qualified, my first ward as a student was on a cardiology medical ward, and I used to go down the corridor of it was like a Victorian sort of style ward in those days, and I'd sort of go past the heart monitors with my hands covering my eyes, thinking I don't know what those squiggly lines are, so I don't want to look at them, and just plod on really as a person. Um, but then I did my 3 and a bit years training. I qualified. I went into a medical assessment unit for 3 months. In those days, I qualified in 1992, 93. And in those days, there were just temporary jobs available. So it was a 3 month job I got. I thought, well, bit of experience, let's get stuck in. And then I got a 10 month job in a gastroendoscopy unit, which is the scopes looking at insides of the tummy and the bowels and
Yeah.
stuff, which I thought was amazing looking inside that. And then the job was coming to an end. So then I found a 3 month job in coronary care in another hospital. And I was like, well, if you're not going to give me a permanent job, off I go. Got this coronary care job for 3 months, and then the gastro board got in touch with me and said, actually, we've got a permanent job we can offer you now. So I went to my manager at the coronary care unit and said, I've got this other job. They're offering me a permanent. If you give me a permanent, I'll stay here. It was as easy as that in those days, which is just so not real these days. And they were like, all right, yeah, we'll give you a permanent. And so that 3 month job went to, I think I was in that hospital for 23 years. And
Okay.
then I've moved to this other hospital where I am now for the last 9 years this month. So that's 31 years in cardiology. Yeah,
Okay. Wow.
31,
And you
something like
must
that.
you must see a lot of different patients though, like all sorts of different ages as well, and
Yeah,
things.
totally. I
Yeah.
mean, we get people, well, literally all ages. We get probably from about 16, 17 years of age. And they're the people who have been born with a heart condition, a congenital heart defect.
Mm.
And really, we didn't used to see adults with heart defects because many years ago when I started, they weren't surviving babyhood. They weren't getting to
Wow.
childhood. And
Yeah.
that's the progression I've seen in different parts of cardiology, really. Now we're seeing adults with these conditions who have had maybe three, four, five operations in their life, and they've got to adulthood and hopefully are doing as much as they can do. Um, as well as that, we're getting the 80, 90, 100-year-olds who need pacemakers, defibrillators put inside them, having heart attacks, needing surgery, all kinds. Absolutely. But
Yeah.
from when I started on that first ward as a student, where patients were coming in with a heart attack, they'd be on bed rest for 5 days, then they'd be able to sit out in a chair for 2 days, and then they'd walk around for 2 or 3 days, and then they could go home. So it was like a 10
Mm.
day trip. Now we're getting them in and out of hospital within 2, 3 days of their heart attack, fixed with a stent, uh, getting on with their life as much as they can. So it can be unbelievable, amazing.
Yeah. It sounds like medicine's changed a lot as
Oh,
well. There's
so
been a lot
much.
of
Yeah.
progression. Um,
Yes, so much.
yeah. But I love that you're getting 16 and 17-year-olds because we're catching that as when
Yeah.
they're babies and that now
Yes,
they
yeah.
can,
And
yeah.
now the scans are better for pregnant mothers, so they're detecting things that they wouldn't have detected years ago. So it really
Yeah.
starts off before they're even born. The parents know that it might happen and they're sort of preparing them before the baby's born. And as soon as the baby's born, they might be rushed off to surgery soon after. But I don't see that part of I do adult
Yeah.
nursing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming that you have to be very open to learning and to change as well, though,
Yes,
as
always.
in this job. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot of mandatory training, and there's courses that you can go on. I haven't done loads of extra training to what my usual job is over the last few years. I'm quite happy just being hands-on staff nurse, just enjoying what I'm doing, and I don't want to go into management.
Yeah.
I'm finding in my life I'm doing other things that I can learn management skills, but not in my actual job. So I've done. I'm part of a staff governor at the hospital at the moment, for over the last 3 years now, and that's really opened my eyes to how a hospital works and how the directors work and how the non-executive directors work, and then governors are involved, and it's fascinating. I never thought I'd see that side of a hospital life.
Yeah. I mean, it must, yeah, when you're on the ground, it's probably looks completely different when you look
Yeah,
at what's
totally.
going on above you. And it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
yeah.
And you think all the paperwork is like, oh, what's the point of this? But then you see how the auditing and how the results come out and how it's been improved over the years. And even when something's outstanding, which is the hospital where I'm working at now, they're always trying to be more outstanding. Outstanding isn't enough. We want to get it
Yeah.
better. We're not 100%. Let's make it, let's get there.
It's very interesting to hear you talk about this because, if you look at the media, the view we're getting of the NHS is
Yeah,
not that great, is it?
yeah,
Where
yeah.
it sounds like from the inside, everybody's doing the absolute best they can and
Oh,
everybody's
yeah.
striving to make it
Everyone's
really good.
trying. I think it's the
Yeah.
budget levels. I mean, I'm not going to go into politics and stuff
Yeah.
because I
No.
can't.
Yeah.
I'm no good at
Yeah.
that.
No,
I have
not
no
enough.
idea of it, thankfully. But you've got to work with what you've got. So yes,
Yeah.
there are waiting lists, but I personally don't see what those waiting lists are pretty much generally. Um,
Yeah.
yes, there's people on the outside waiting for operations or waiting for all kinds of different things, clinic appointments and stuff. But I see hands-on care we're giving, the work we're doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
things like that.
And that's the bit that counts, really, isn't it? The
That's the
kind
bit that I
of,
love. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
like hearing negative things, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I know that's real life. But
It
I
is.
live in
Yeah.
my little happy world and do what I can do to change someone's life.
Yeah. I know, but it's lovely to talk to somebody who actually works
Yeah.
in the NHS and loves it. And I've spoken to a few people who love their jobs, and
Yeah.
that you can tell that they're doing the best they can, and you can't help the external circumstances, can
Yeah.
you?
I don't think you can be a nurse without loving the job. I mean, you certainly don't come into it for the pay. So, I mean, yeah, we get paid, but you don't come into it to be able to climb up the ladder to get a big pay. Most people, most
Yeah.
nurses, you've got to come into it because you're passionate about people and helping and wanting the best.
Yeah, it's
Um,
kind of the same
you
with
know,
teaching. Like you don't go
yeah,
into teaching for the
absolutely.
pay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the
Yeah,
minority might get up the ladder, but the majority are the
yeah.
are what we get.
So we mentioned the kind of in your introduction that you climb mountains and do push-ups at the top. Was it something in your job that actually and you
Um,
ignited that love, or was there something else going on?
Yeah, I think quite a few things. Mid 30s, so I'm 53 now. So mid 30s, I looked around me and I could guess roughly what age my family members would be dying off, the ones that were becoming a bit ill. And I thought, God, this is getting real. Life is real and that life is short. And throughout my childhood, I saw life was short because my father had a hereditary kidney condition. He needed a kidney transplant, which he got, and he died a few years after that. And now a couple of my family members have got that same condition. One's had a transplant, one is heading that way.
Mm.
Um, I'm the very lucky one. I didn't get that condition. And I just want to, part of me is like, get out there, do everything you can do. You're very lucky, prove it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But as well as that, I was right about certain people passing away in my life. So my mum, my auntie, and my grandma, who was a good age at 101. So my mum, my dad, and my auntie all died at a young age, really, 59 and 69s.
Okay.
Um,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, and I just needed to do something. So it was more of a focus for myself. I needed to step out my comfort zone, not be the mother, sister, daughter, auntie, whoever.
Mm.
I wanted to be me. I'd never known who I was.
Yeah.
As soon as I sort of left home, qualified, got married straight away, really, met the fella of my dreams and still with him 28, 29 years later.
Oh,
So I'm very
love that.
lucky. Yeah, very lucky, gorgeous children and a dog. And I
Yeah.
just thought that should be enough, but it's not. I need to know who I am. So when these bereavements happened, I was said to my husband, I need to book something absolutely ridiculously mad. And I booked a trip to China along the Great Wall of China with a group of people I've never met through a company, safely
Mm.
with a tour guide
Yeah.
and a medic. Um, and I hate flying in airplanes, and I just thought I'm going to just do that. And that was probably the worst part of the challenge. The hardest part was getting on that
Yeah.
plane and getting up there without any family members. Once I landed in China, I was like, right, this is going to be okay now. That part was easy,
Yeah.
although challenging. Um, and then so after China, I came home and I was like, right, oh, that I've done it now. And then I got this little inkling, like, no, I need to do something else. And I booked Sri Lanka for a couple of years later. So I did the jungles and mountains of Sri Lanka. So the summit, one of the nights near the end of the trip in Sri Lanka, I climbed a mountain where we got to the top of it as sunrise happened. And I was just like blown away. It was absolutely stunning. We were above the clouds. We saw the sun shadow the mountain on the clouds below, and it was just gorgeous. And we got down after that day, and I was with this girl at the bottom of this mountain. And she said, I'm absolutely shattered. And I said, I was just full of energy. I was absolutely buzzing. And I said, I feel like I could do a load of press ups now. So I just got down and did a load of press ups in Sri Lanka. And then I thought, I like that. And then so every trip I went on after that, so that was 2015, I did push-ups and then I did them wherever I've been in life, really. So it wasn't just the mountains. Since then, I've
Yeah.
done like Kilimanjaro, the Himalayas in Nepal, Vietnam, Cambodia cycle ride, an Arctic dog sledding challenge, and this year, this month, I'm off to Machu Picchu in Peru to do the
Okay,
Inca Trail.
wow. Yeah.
So,
And I thought I was brave going to Vienna all by myself to see Bruce
yeah,
Springsteen.
yeah. So, yeah, it's just spiraled out of control, really. So this is my eighth, I think, overseas trip where I'm by myself and doing my thing, for a challenge, for a charity each time. Um, and the push-ups just went a bit wild where now my husband gets involved and says, do it there, do it there. And I think he gets a bit of a buzz out of it himself. He doesn't do them. But I was very lucky enough to go to the Royal Garden Party. So I got my push-ups in the courtyard of Buckingham Palace.
Okay, well,
Um,
in all your finery,
yeah, yeah, in my gorgeous dress. Yeah, I don't often get dressed up, but there I was on the floor.
in your high
Um,
heels.
yeah, yeah, and I did it in like I went to the audience of Loose Women on television, and then I did it with Nadia Sawalha on telly. I
Wow.
saw Giles Brandreth at the theatre. I don't know if you've heard of him. He used to be an MP and he's a presenter on television. Um,
Yeah.
and I got on stage with him. He got me up on stage and we were doing push-ups together. So I've done it with him on stage. And then
Okay, wow.
recently, yeah, and then on the this morning phone in, I've done it.
Yeah.
I've spoken to Alison Hammond. I've spoken to a few people, but
Yeah.
Alison Hammond, she was on the couch doing push-ups with the Egyptian pyramids behind her on a screen because she was doing it for me because I was telling her I do push-ups everywhere and where would you want to do them? So she started
Yeah.
doing them on the couch.
Okay, wow.
I'm loving that I'm spreading the push-ups challenge to everybody, really, whoever I meet.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's just amazing. It just came from one like little spark when
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
somewhere that, you felt so energized and you
Yeah.
thought you're going to do
And the
push-ups.
funniest
And
one, I think, was a lady probably in her 80s. I went to deliver a food parcel last year through a community care thing I do. And I knocked on this door, and the lady recognized me from either the hospital magazine or the community care that I'm part of.
Mm.
And she said, "Oh, you do push-ups?" So I said, "Yeah, that's right." And then she literally got down in front of me and she said, "I came out of hospital a couple of weeks ago and I've been trying to do push-ups since I've come out. And what do you think of these?" And I was just like, get up,
Wow.
what are you doing?" I was like, "Wow, you're amazing." I just wanted to give her a big hug. I thought she was brilliant. But that's just me off a little something, inspiring others to just get up and do something or get down and do something, and I just love
Yeah.
it.
So why push-ups?
Well, yeah, I was asking myself that question. And I think if I really analyze myself, I think I came up with one thing that might have been from my childhood. When I was about 11 or 12 years old, I was beaten up by a few girls in a off a bus. I got off a bus quick because they were being horrible.
Mm.
And I went towards a shop and they smashed my head against the window, which thankfully had toughened
Ooh.
glass, and
Mm.
stubbed a cigarette out on the back of my neck. And I ran off. And anyway, after that episode, my mum signed me up for some karate lessons just for me to have the confidence and to learn what to do in a terrible time
Yeah.
like and at those karate lessons every week we had to do a load of push-ups at the beginning of the lesson, which I'd totally forgotten about until I started thinking, where has this come from? And I think it's that. I think it gives me the strength and the feeling of strength and the feeling of I may be tiny under 5 foot, but I'm a big person inside.
I love that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
kind of gives you the strength and the confidence because that's what the karate was all about, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's not to hurt people, it's just to have
Yeah.
the confidence yourself. And
Yeah.
other times I've got these Wonder Woman knickers and socks, and sometimes I'll just put them on a bad day. And no one knows, but I know.
You know. I love that because there's so many little things we can do for ourselves, aren't there?
Yeah,
That we,
yeah,
that are silly, but they actually kind of empower us
yeah,
and they feel good for us.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I have a few bits of jewelry that I kind of just wear all the time.
yeah,
And I noticed that if I like sometimes I'll be out and I'll have forgotten to put it on and I feel kind of lost. I
yes,
say
yeah,
to myself, you're being silly. You're being, it's just a
yeah. It's
bracelet.
just,
Like,
yeah,
no, but like, I don't know why it means something. One of them is just, it's a string of elephants. It's gorgeous. It's a chain of silver elephants that my daughters gave to me.
yeah,
And I love elephants because, I mean, my house, if you came into my house, I've got so many elephants. They're everywhere.
yeah.
Everybody keeps giving me elephants.
My auntie used to
And
have elephants everywhere. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I love how strong they are. I love their loyalty. And there's just something about elephants that really appeals to me. And this
yeah.
bracelet just kind of makes me feel strong, I think, I
That's it,
guess,
yeah.
as
And
well.
nobody knows, but it
Yeah,
gives you the strength, doesn't it?
strength, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, sometimes we just need that little talisman, don't we? For you,
yeah,
it's your push-ups, and for me, it's
yeah.
my elephants.
That's it.
Um, it's kind of, yeah, it's interesting because we're humans.
Yeah,
You said you
absolutely.
do all these for charity.
Yes.
So what charities do you
So I started my first challenge with the China Trek was kidney research on behalf of my dad and Marie
yeah,
Curie hospices for my auntie and my mum after that.
okay.
And I've done Marie Curie mainly for the last 10-ish years. As well as that, I do like a Merseyside Jewish community care, which I've done for many years as well. I do some volunteering and some work for them.
Mm.
Um, it's mainly Marie Curie though that I've done. But the last year I've changed my focus. I do a lot of volunteering for Marie Curie and I wanted to just change my focus for another charity. And because I'm a cardiology nurse and I wanted to celebrate in some way over 30 years,
Yeah.
not like out there, showing myself, I've done this, I've done that. But I
Yeah.
just thought British Heart Foundation would be nice just for whether it's a year or it goes longer than that, I don't
Mm.
know. I do talks for different charities as well. Um, so the British Heart Foundation is what I'm doing this year. But
Yeah.
as well as that, these talks, they've asked me to be a speaker for them, so I've got one booked in for them. where, and then I do WI talks, Women's Institute talks, and I do talks for Marie Curie, and yeah, it just depends where I go. And a couple of years ago, I won an award for the Coronation Champion Award through King Charles and Queen Camilla when they were getting coronation through the coronation,
Mm.
um, and that was through the Royal Voluntary Service, which I do some volunteering for. And they presented me with a medal, like a pin that I can put on my lanyard, and a certificate, which is just lovely. I've got it in front of my computer, which is behind you. Which is lovely just to look at some certificates.
Well,
It boosts you
yeah.
up, feeling good. Um, and so I started doing talks for them. So they wanted me to go through different social groups and schools to careers groups. To if children are not knowing what career to go to, they wanted people to go and represent volunteering in the community. And so they'd asked, myself to go to careers groups, is that what it's called? A day for careers advice,
Yeah.
and say, have you ever thought of volunteering? Because it's really good to put on your CV if you want to go into whatever job you want to go into, prove that you've done it without money and it's your passion, and it might get you up the ladder a little bit more. Um, and funnily enough, I remember one day that I was doing this careers group, and these lads come along, and school kids, lads,
Yeah.
they're like 13, 14, and they thought they were far better than me, miss. And they went, "All right, miss, what you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, I'm, saying about volunteering today. Do you do anything in the community?" And I'm like, well, whatever they were saying. So I said, volunteering is for everyone. I said, even like push-ups and helping people do push-ups, because I thought I've got to get them in some way, in a fitness way.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we can do them. So I was like, go on then, show me. So I had about these six lads suddenly got down on the floor. And they were, come on, miss, you do it. And I was like, yeah, go on then. So for some reason, this like hard knock me came out going, let's see who can last the longest then. There we are doing push-ups on the floor in the school hall. Yeah, and I thought after a while we better stop now. So I even got some school kids doing it. Yeah.
Wow.
And in
Amazing.
Vietnam, Cambodia trip, we visited a school, and there was a load of kids there that suddenly got down, and one kid was doing it with one hand, and I was like, "Oh, you're going to try that one, are you?" So that was fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can actually do. I can hold a plank for a minute and a half. I'm not sure I
Brilliant.
can do push-ups, but
Yeah, brilliant. You can. Everyone can.
yeah. But I was just thinking about volunteering. That actually just brought back a memory for me because I was brought up Catholic, obviously, growing up in Ireland,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
belonged to something called the Legion of Mary,
Right.
which was a community group that helped out. We had meetings once a week, and we were sent out into the community to help the older people.
Yes.
So we would either do their grocery shopping for them, or sometimes we'd just go into their house and we'd sit and make a cup of tea
Yeah.
and sit and chat with them. I do remember there was one particular old lady who nobody else wanted to go to, and I kept getting assigned to see her because her house stank. It was really smelly.
Oh,
She
yeah.
had, well, she obviously had incontinence problems, which we didn't know about at that age,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I was 10, I think 10 or 11 when we were doing
Oh,
this.
yeah.
And also she had one very smelly dog. And I've never been a dog person. I'm a cat and a rabbit person. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I remember doing that. I have kind of quite vivid memories of doing that now. Um, and I always thought, oh, okay, I don't volunteer because I haven't really done much in the way of voluntary work since my kids left primary school. I was very, very involved with them
Right.
in primary school.
Yes. Yeah.
But then kind of life's just kind of been really busy.
Yeah.
So actually that's something I probably ought to get back into actually is doing some
Yeah.
voluntary work. So
And
how
it
would
doesn't
you
half help you. It
yeah,
doesn't half help me
yeah.
doing
Mm,
volunteering for others.
mm,
Because some days I do like a couple of befriending visits to people, and I do
mm,
phone call befriending as well to lonely
mm.
people. And some of the ones that, like one day I might think, oh, I just want to stay in bed and do nothing and watch telly and eat crisps and
Yeah,
but then I've made this appointment and I will be going. And actually, as soon as I knock on that door, I suddenly feel good about myself, and they love me coming as well, which is lovely. But it does
yeah,
do something for me as well. It's volunteering. You've got to find a passion that you love to enjoy
yeah,
so that you can spread that passion to that person.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like you have a very busy life. Are you still working full time?
I work part-time.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. That's why you have time for all the
Yeah, I work
volunteering and
part-time. So I fit the
yeah,
different things in. Yeah.
yeah. Because I was thinking, gosh, if you're working full time and doing
No,
all the
no.
volunteering and all your push-ups on mountains,
Yeah.
you have more hours in the day than the rest of us.
No, it's part-time.
Yeah. So, I mean, I mean, for somebody who's kind of sitting at home and feeling lonely and doesn't know how, thinks they don't know how to connect to people, or they, because I know some people that have kind of been sat at home for a few years and
Yeah.
they've kind of lost that way of connecting with people.
Yes.
And they feel like they can't connect or they don't have anything to say because they're at home all the time.
Yeah.
Um, what, how would they get into volunteering? What would you recommend they kind
Um,
of, and I'm
well,
not, I'm
yeah,
not putting you out as an expert on this, but
no, no. It depends what they're into. So,
yeah,
there's so much anyone can do. So, if you love animals, I mean, I have no idea of different charities for animals, to be
mm,
fair. But there's the RSPCA, there's a dog's home, there's a
mm,
stables that you can get in touch with if you like horses and see if you can go and help with the horses, walk the horses. I don't know what goes
yeah,
on in stables. I've never been. It depends what you love. To
yeah,
me, I love people. I found that I like my own company, but I get a bit restless if it's just me for too long. I
yeah,
like the days where I'm nice and quiet sometime and not talking to anyone, but majority of the time I like to just find out about other people and, so I like, personally for me, the Royal Voluntary Service is brilliant for you can do phone calls if you don't want to get out the house or if you can't get out the house, mobility problems. You can actually do phone calls to lonely people. And there's an
mm,
app that I've got on my phone where when I've got like a spare 20 minutes to an hour or something, I
mm,
can log onto this app and say, right, I'm available to do these calls. I'll pick the person. I'll find out the name and the phone number and I'll give them a call and I'll have a chat for like 10, 20 minutes. And that will
mm,
break their day up for themselves. As
yeah,
well as that, with the Royal Voluntary Service, you can do some shopping for them. You can take them out shopping. Um, you can work in a WRVS shop in a hospital. Take coffee round or whatever. I've never done that.
yeah.
And so
I
for
suppose you probably get enough of the hospital.
yeah. So there's lots of things through the Royal Voluntary Service. If you go on the website, there's absolutely tons of things, and you can ask the questions on there and get in touch with someone or give them a call and have a chat. So if you don't want to show your face to people, you can still do lots of volunteering and get an awful lot from it. If
Yeah.
you do want to show your face, to me, different things that I do is the fundraising. I love fundraising. I've done like coffee mornings, I've done bingo events, I've planned like a New Year's Eve walk for the last couple of years where I just got people together to walk around a park, end up having a hot chocolate or a Bailey's or Prosecco together in a coffee shop with a load of strangers, but
Yeah.
we've all done that together and we've sort of finished on a high. Um, and that money, whilst we're going round, we've done a raffle with it as well, so you
Mm,
fundraising in that way. What else have I done? So that's any charities like Marie Curie or like the ones I've mentioned, kidney
mm,
research. The Tiny Tickers is the one that's for child heart abnormalities, which is a fantastic
mm.
charity. Um, and the like any community care, like you mentioned about your church-based ones, mine's the Jewish community care, and
Yeah.
all them can advise on different volunteering that you can do in the community. So there's just so much, I think, that if you're lonely, but you've got to step out your comfort zone. You get in a
Yeah.
rut, don't you?
Yeah.
If you stay in and you think, well, I can't do it. Well, actually, you can. I did a talk to a women's institute recently, just the end of last year and the beginning of this year. Um, and at the end of it, I was chatting to this lady and she said, wow, the travels you've done, it's amazing. And I said, well, yeah, but what have you done? And she was like, oh, I'm not, I can't. So I said, why? She goes, I'd absolutely love to. So I said, well, why haven't you then? And she said, well, I married a fellow who doesn't want to travel. So I said, yeah, but why haven't you then? So she said, because I'm married to, I said, no, that's not the thing. I said, as long as you can afford it, of course, your money comes into it, I
Yeah.
suppose. But I said, you married a man. I met a man who I absolutely love, I share my life with, but we have different hobbies as well. So
Mm.
we'll go and do our hobbies and we'll come back at the end of the day or the week or whatever and talk about it. Otherwise, you've got, like, after many, many years of marriage, you run out of things to say if you live in the same life constantly, 24 hours a day. There's not
Yes,
that
in each
much to
other's
talk
pockets.
about.
Yeah.
No. So
Yeah.
I think if he doesn't let me, he says, yeah, I always check with him because if there's anything in his life that he needs to do as well, we make sure that we're
Yeah.
compatible. Um, But he'll go, oh, and when I'm thinking, oh, I don't know whether to book this mountain trip. Oh, I'm not sure. He goes, do you want to do it? I went, yeah, yeah. He goes, just book it. I went, oh, okay. You know, so he wants me out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do think finding the love of your life doesn't mean that you have to stop your life. You know, we are all single people. Just because we may be lucky enough to find love, then that's not an excuse not to live your life still.
Yeah, I think though with a lot of, I mean, it's fine. It's having that compatibility that you have,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
somebody who wants you to grow and
yes,
and
yeah,
live your own life and not just be their servant,
yes,
which is
totally,
what I
totally.
had for many, many
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
Um, but I get that. I sometimes think, oh, well, I'd love to do this, and then I talk myself out of it.
yeah.
I'm really good at talking myself out of
Yeah.
doing things.
But there's even
Yeah.
groups online. Like I found a couple of Facebook groups. So during lockdown, I just went off cycling and I thought one day, right, I'm going to head towards, it was probably about, I don't know, 10, 15 miles away. So I thought, well, I'm going to head there. I always get lost. I've got my phone on me. I'm just going to give it a go because if I don't know where I'm going, I'll just turn around. Um, and on the way there, I stopped. I got off my bike. I was getting a drink of water out of my bag, and this fella in Lycra came towards me. From there, I was like, that, oh. And he said, it's like, where have you appeared from? He said, oh, I'm meeting the cycling group. So I said, what cycling group? And he said, they're going from where I started to where I was planning to go to. So I was like, wow. He goes, are you in that cycling group? I went, well, I am now. I'll wait for them. And that was brilliant. I joined this cycling group that had only just set themselves up because of lockdown and Facebook and stuff. And I had about 2, 3 years with them until they fizzled out because of lockdown stopped and stuff, and their
Yeah,
lives started again. And we had a couple of trips to the Lake District and Mallorca when things started opening up, cycling in the hills of Mallorca, and it was amazing, you know. But
well,
you've got to just go, yeah, why not? As long as
yeah,
you're safe and you've got your phone on you and you know something where of what you're doing.
yeah,
Another group I joined was this fitness group I'm on with Facebook, and it's a load of people from all over the world. I've been joined on from a girl who I used to go to school with, who wasn't major friends with at school, but she
yeah.
knew that I liked fitness, and she got in touch and said, "Oh, I've got this group on Facebook. It's a private group. Do you want to join it?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." Thought, "Oh, this is a cult," which it was. And we've now met up once a year for the past three years in different countries, just for a weekend, so not too far away. Um,
Yeah,
and just had an absolute giggle together and walked up little hills. You know, one was North Wales, one was in Rome, and one was in Chamonix in Switzerland. You know, so lots of hills there and stuff. And we just loved meeting each other and different. I mean, I was embarrassed that they can all speak a lot of languages and I could only speak English, you know, but they were all fluent in English as well, thankfully. But you've just got to find these people. And in the
yeah.
UK, there's a Facebook page called The Mountain Coach, who I do some of his walks, and he just arranges walks every weekend, sometime one midweek. I'm not sure, but I've not been on them. And that's within an hour and a half, 2 hours of driving. It's about 25, £30 for a whole day, just so that you've got someone guiding you of where you're walking, because I get lost everywhere.
Oh, I'm with you on the getting
Yeah.
lost everywhere. I mean,
Always.
like I have lived in London since I don't know when, and that's the thing is I don't really go up to London all that often. But
Yeah.
recently I've been going up there a bit more, and I get lost, and I'm following
Yeah.
Google, and Google Maps doesn't always work up there. I think because there's so many people, it just and
Big
so it
buildings as
turns
well.
you around in circles, and I end up, calling my son and saying. Yeah, I'm meant to be going here. I'm meant to be there half an hour ago, and I've been walking around in circles.
Yeah.
And he will say, "Well, what can you see, Mum? Tell me where you are." And then he will guide me. And I think, well, okay, cool.
Brilliant.
And the days he's in a meeting, I just have to make my own way. But I'm
Yeah.
getting better at it. But yes, you do just have to do it, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Very
And
much.
if you know you've got that support, you can phone your
Yeah,
son. But if your son wasn't there, if it was in a meeting, you do sort of get there eventually. It just takes a bit longer, doesn't
it
it?
does.
So you
Yeah,
know you can do it.
yeah,
So that's the
yeah,
confidence in you to know that actually if I didn't ask him, I'd probably make it eventually, or ask a stranger or point me in the right direction. And it's being confident enough to ask along the way, isn't it? Sometimes
yeah.
some people don't want to ask for that help, and you have to, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I went to Vienna a couple of years ago to see Bruce Springsteen, only
Yeah.
because he announced a European tour, but because of all the
Yeah.
Brexit nonsense, he hadn't announced a UK tour, and I was kind of
Yeah.
worried he wasn't going to come to the UK. And normally I would have gone to see him in Dublin, But
Right.
those tickets sold out like within about 5 minutes. I'm thinking, okay, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? And then, okay, I think I got down to Milan, Barcelona, and Vienna, and I thought, okay, I know somebody in Vienna, so I can
Yeah.
meet up with them. So so right, I'm going to buy a ticket for Bruce in Vienna. And but I put off and put off and put off booking the hotel and the flights like
Yeah.
until about a month beforehand, because I then got tickets for Wembley, not or
Oh
no
well.
Hyde Park, yeah, Wembley. And so I thought, oh well, I'm going to be seeing him anyway. So, or maybe it was Hyde Park, I can't remember, one or the other. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to be seeing him anyway. So do I really need to go to Vienna? I thought, you know what, I want to go. I don't know why I'm stopping myself here.
Yeah.
I really want to go. And Vienna is one of those places I've kind of always wanted to visit.
Yeah.
So in the end, I ended up booking flights really late. So they were really, really expensive. And then I got a hotel. I was really lucky in that the hotel I got was right next to a tube station, underground station, whatever they called them in Vienna,
Yeah.
with a direct line straight into the middle of Vienna. Like I couldn't have booked a better hotel. Only I then realized why I was able to book that hotel when I got there because they had these massive, great big road. They were building another
Oh,
subsection of the underground, so there
all
were
right.
these massive, great big roadworks outside that were going from 5 o'clock every morning until 11 o'clock every night. Just
Yeah.
this great big. It looked like one of those, the things you see in Dallas, the oil rig things.
Yeah, the big
This
diggers, of
great big,
course.
but it was like it was pumping out concrete.
Right.
And it was just the
Wow.
noise was just phenomenal. I thought, okay, this is why this hotel was free.
Yeah.
But hey, it was 4 days and I
But
had to
that's a
think,
big trip, isn't it? When
yeah,
you've done it
yeah,
yourself and it's a big
yeah,
accomplishment and it's the
yeah,
confidence boost of like, I've just done that myself. And that's what I get from my trips when I go away. It's not always about the act. I mean, the challenge, of course, is really challenging because I
yeah,
find it hard. But the end, I always want to book another for some reason. But it's actually the going through the airports and the tube stations and the finding your way yourself. And I know that to some people is like not a big deal. But to me and to others, it's like, yeah, I just want to
yeah,
go, yeah, well done,
yeah,
Michelle. You've done this.
yeah. Well, for me, it was the first time I'd ever kind of gone away somewhere that wasn't
Yeah,
Ireland by
yeah,
myself. And suddenly I had this freedom. I could choose where I wanted to go. Because
yeah,
previously in the past, like anytime I'd gone anywhere, it was with my ex or with the kid, and the
yeah,
kids normally. And so everybody else had these ideas of what they wanted to do and where we wanted to go. And we always had
mm,
to do what my ex wanted anyway. And
yeah,
so, and I would wake up in the morning and think, well, I can go anywhere I want to today. I
yeah,
can do whatever I want. And there was one day I just got the train, tube, whatever it was, into Vienna and I just wandered and I
yeah.
wandered like for hours. And then I suddenly thought, oh my God, I have no idea. I am completely lost. I have no idea how I'm supposed to get home or anything. And the problem with Vienna was everybody was a tourist like me, or most of them,
Yes,
So you'd ask somebody where, no, no, sorry, I haven't got a clue. But
yeah,
I found my way back to the hotel eventually and it was all
exactly.
good.
And it's an adventure to talk about, isn't it?
It is. And it's just, like it just gives you that real sense of kind of confidence and freedom and the fact
Yeah,
that you think, yeah, I did this.
yeah,
Like even the
absolutely.
days when I go up to London and I go somewhere new that I've never been before.
Yeah,
And then, yay,
yeah.
I did it.
It's
Like,
brilliant. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And I think
totally.
I think we all need a little bit of that in our lives, don't we? Even if
Yes,
it's just trying out a new coffee shop or,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and I think so I know so many women. Like we have a local pub and they have bands play every Thursday night and every Sunday afternoon. And some of the bands I really like. So I will go down there on my own on a Sunday afternoon. And I have a couple of friends saying, I don't know how you do that. How do you like I couldn't do that. I couldn't walk into a pub. I said, well,
Yeah.
one, they're really friendly. I know the landlord and the landlady. I'm there for the music.
Yes.
And actually, sometimes I think I prefer going without friends
Yeah.
because then I get to chat to other people.
That's it.
Because
Yeah.
when with your friends, they kind of expect you to stay with them and
Yeah.
talk to them. And I want to, certainly, I want to talk to other people. Like I want to talk to the band when they finish playing and ask them about their, music and
Yeah.
hear their
Brilliant.
stories. Um, my friends, yeah, I know most of their stories.
Yeah. I totally agree. I went to see
Yeah.
Joseph at the theatre once, and it was Jason Donovan, and I love Jason Donovan. I've
We're
got
going back a while here
I've
now.
got a life-size cardboard cutout in this room where I am now of Jason Donovan. So he's always watching me. Um, and I just thought, well, there's a ticket there, and my husband's not that fussed on him. I mean, he's lived with him for, with this cardboard cutout for a few years now. And I just thought, well, I'll go myself. I'm not going to ask him because, he doesn't want to go. And when I said, well, I'm getting a ticket, but I'm happy to go myself. Do you want to come? And he was like, no, enjoy it, and he didn't. Um, but I just felt when Jason was singing, he was singing to me because I was there by myself. I didn't know anyone else.
Yeah,
Obviously, he was singing to me rather than the whole
yeah,
audience. I
yeah.
loved
And
it. And you can have an ice cream by yourself and not feel a
yeah,
bit guilty and just, do your thing.
yeah. There's a real freedom, isn't there, in
Yeah,
being able to
yeah,
just go out and do things by yourself.
yeah.
But I think we have chatted for quite a long time. Um,
Yes.
so it's been absolutely lovely to to chat to you and hear your stories, Michelle. And
Thank you.
you are such an amazing woman. You're so inspirational.
Yeah.
So yes, I just hope that somebody else has got something out of this, and please do connect with us.
Yeah.
Um, we're happy. I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Brilliant.
Michelle sounds like she is too.
Yes.
As I said, I will have a community going with this. I'm not quite sure where that community is going to be, but once I've got all that sorted out, the links will be in the bottom of the podcast. So yes, I hope that our stories connect and that you found something interesting today. And once again, Michelle, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you.